Good morning and welcome to Trader Planet Pre-Market Open Trade Review. Today is Tuesday, April 13th. We're so glad you could join us today. This is Darla Tuttle and I am your host for today's session with Greg Firman, a market analyst for TraderPlanet.com. Today's webcast takes place at a specific date and time, and therefore any opinions given by our presenter may change without notice at any time. Trading involves substantial risk of loss and therefore may not be suitable for all investors, and past performance is not indicative of future results. This live webcast is being recorded and will be posted on Trader Planet, so you will be able to review the material at a later time. You will also find other previously recorded webinars among our other free educational resources within our site at www.TraderPlanet.com. As one of our more popular presenters, Greg Firman is a professional trader and commodity trade advisor that has worked in the stock, futures, commodity, and currency markets for the last 10 years. Greg is Series 3 commodity futures licensed and registered with the NFA and has clients that include individual traders and fund managers from around the world. We're delighted to have him with us today. Let's give a warm welcome to Greg Firman.
Thank you for that welcome, Darla. I want to welcome everybody this morning. This morning what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at some pre-market open trading. We're also going to be reviewing some of the recommended trades for today. So let's go ahead with that. Pull everything up, make sure everybody can see everything okay. Now, the first one we're going to be looking at here is the British pound US dollar. Now, we can see with the pound US dollar, we've got a fresh crossover here from the Vantage Point software with the triple EMA crossover. This was a recommended trade for today. Now, the market here, what we've done is the first thing we want to do is go in and identify pivot support in this case. Because we've crossed over to the upside, pivot support comes in at 152.18, 152.75, and 153.38. Now, what I'm going to do here is pull this up so everybody can see this. Pound dollar is currently trading at 154.32. We can see that I opened this position at 153.48 for a profit of $422. What we also want to take notice here is when I entered this trade. Now, my recommended trades for the night, they come out usually around 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We can see here 21:13 that probably within an hour or two of that being put out, I actually entered into this position for training purposes. Now, this is a demo account, but often in many cases this does mirror my live account. So looking at this, now this is a $50,000 position. Now in the Forex markets, that's $5 a pip. So you can see here that so far today, we've taken 85 pips. We've taken essentially the entire move. Now, what I talked about in the Vantage Point software is these pivot areas. In my recommended trades last night, I suggested that the market would be unlikely that it would get through the 153.38, even though the Vantage Point predicted low for the day was 152.95. Now, again, with the predicted highs and the predicted lows for the day using the Vantage Point software, this is a predicted range. So, we have things that can interfere with that, specifically those predicted moving averages. Now, looking at this, we have 152.96 as the predicted low, and we have 154.31 as the predicted high. Now, if you remember correctly, in my recommended trade, I suggested last night that it would not hit 152.96 and that it would extend past the high of the day. Now, we can see that the market here, hopefully everybody can see this okay, the low of the day is 153.35. The high so far today is 154.51. Now, again, this is very consistent with what I was saying last night, that we would have a higher low and a higher high. So that's actually taken place. Now, we have other contracts here. You can see here that I have a pending order waiting to get in there in the S&P 500. That was another recommended trade. Oil, this is mostly a Forex presentation, but what's interesting about the Vantage Point software is that it can be the same method of trade can be used regardless of what market you're actually trading. Now, let's have a little closer look at this pound dollar and see what's been going on and why this was a recommended trade. Now, looking at the Vantage Point software, we can see that this triple EMA crossover took place on or about the 22nd of January, I would say. Now, the leading indicator here is this 3-day predicted moving average from Vantage Point crossing over both the 8-day and the 18-day. We can subsequently see what took place, that the market then essentially went into a free fall, showing the power of this triple EMA crossover, how extremely effective it can be. Now, what we also want to take notice here is that the market, when it fell, it then retraced back up, hit this 18-day predicted moving average, which is what I call, in this particular case, at that time, was pivot resistance. We can see here, again, this 18-day predicted moving average is this dark colored blue line. Now, very important that we look at this, because this was another opportunity to actually add another short position on this break. So when it came down, it hit this, started retracing higher. I'm sure everybody heard, you know, pound dollar was going higher, et cetera, et cetera. We've all heard it from the announcers and everything else, but the reality is it wasn't. 3-day went up to the 8-day, it couldn't cross over the 18-day, and subsequently fell the equivalent amount, more than the equivalent amount than what it fell the first time. So if we had a short position here, then another short position right here again on the retracement, now bottomed out around this 148 level. Now, looking at this going forward, we can see that it started to move higher. The 3-day, again, crossing over the 8-day and the 18-day, was the leading, clearly the leading indicator here, suggesting it was going to move higher. Now, we can see these candlesticks going up. It's hit this 153, 154 area. We can see a number of candlesticks sitting just above this 153, 153.30 area. Then it subsequently moved lower, and we have 3 bars here on this candlestick that have come down and just slightly penetrated that 18-day predicted moving average. However, the Vantage Point indicators, the predicted moving averages did not cross, and it continued to move higher. So we've closed yesterday at 153.69. I've then yesterday identified last night in the recommended trades for today, suggesting 153.38 would be the critical, would be the likely area. Now, the reason I've said that for all the people out there trading, and even some of you that are using the Vantage Point software, the reason why the 3-day predicted moving average was the area of interest to me is because this is a fresh crossover. When you have a fresh crossover in the triple EMA,